So today on the YouTube video, we're gonna be speaking about job titles. Is there importance to job titles for employees? And how do you think about that, especially if you're the employer? Now, job titles, why is this important? So shameless plug here, the AFT Construction Podcast, I had Al Trellis on, subscribe to the podcast, including our YouTube channel here. Al came on and he spoke about job titles. Now, he's a building consultant. He consults companies all over the country. He's been in the construction industry for 51 years. And what's interesting, he was on the podcast, he gave this example about he was consulting with a builder who had 7 superintendents. And he asked him, he said, what is their job title differentiation, right? And the owner's like, we don't have titles, like everyone's a superintendent and we don't differentiate ourselves, we're all the same. And Al pretty much called him on and said, why is that? Maybe you don't care about that, but they do, right? And he dove into just a sense of pride, right? That as people understand, it's one thing to have an organizational chart, an org chart as a company. As you're thinking about, okay, where can I progress in the company? If I'm starting here at the bottom level, how can I earn my stripes and work up the ranks to get to the top? And the example that he gave is being in the military, right? In the military, people die and they fight, right, for these badges, for their country, for their honor. And he always takes note when he sees someone in the military, you know, a lot of the different, call them stripes and badges that they have, because of the different wars they've won or the wars that they've been in, and it's meaningful to them, right? And it's very similar as you think about application for employees, as you think about, okay, well, if I want to be a senior superintendent or a general superintendent, and maybe that's an elevated title and there's a pay structure with that, well, maybe that means you can run 4 jobs, commands 4 projects. You may be only running 2 or 3 because that's all you have, but you have the capability of 4. So it's clear and outlined how to get to that next level. What's interesting is a different take on this. So one of my employees that I hired a couple years ago, Spencer Neild, as we were thinking about job title and role in the company with some of our employees, you know, he made a great point too that many of us don't think about. If this, going back to the original example, if this gentleman who had 7 employees and they're all supers, there's not really a differentiation for the client or the subcontractor, the trade partner on title, on who's elevated. When you think about that, having a director of operations or a VP or a senior construction manager, right, there's a little bit more clout. So as they're standing in front of a client, the client may know that because of their job title that they have the authority to make certain decisions and get things done. Very similar as they're calling trade partners and suppliers. You know, the superintendent may be calling them and they're not getting a return call, but then the director of operations or the owner or the VP calls them and they may move a little bit quicker because there is something to be said about the response time from those who are understanding your title. And then again, when it goes back to just everyone loves to go home and share with their spouse, or you know, maybe they post on LinkedIn. I mean, there's a lot of things that it's really important as you think about company culture and title and growth. How do we evaluate that for our employees, right? How do we give them a path for them to be successful and work their way up to understand their potential role, to understand their potential in the company, and then also have that sense of pride, right? That this is their title, they want to live up to it, they want to honor that. And so think about that. Think about how important job naming is in your company and how to do that, you know, collectively, whether you have 3 employees or 23 employees, it doesn't matter. Find a way to structure that and build for the future.